Hi there, it's John here. It's Wednesday and I have a song to play for you. This week I had to get the words pioneer and accent into a song in the key of B flat, and this is what I've come up with. Now, very early on in the process over the weekend, as I was thinking about the words and how I might write a song, I was thinking about pioneers of different disciplines of art and medicine and sport and space exploration and all sorts of things. But before I even had those thoughts, my mind had flashed to a documentary I saw a few years ago with Ray Mears, the explorer and survival guy, about the Northern Wilderness. And that was his series, I think over 5 or 6 parts, about Canada and what an amazing country Canada is, and how those first explorers and those people that went to settle there from Europe and the Americas as well came to learn to live with the land and survive there. And so I was thinking about that, and then sort of shoved that to the back of my mind. And then as I was doing some research, I realised that the early Europeans were called pioneers. They were called pioneers. That's what they were called, the pioneers. And so that's what they were known as. So I thought, well, I've got to kind of explore this. And so it's taken me a little while because I didn't have an opportunity to read loads and loads and loads of history about the early settlers in Canada. And then when you start talking about European settlers, you need to look at First Nations who were there before. You need to look at the Vikings who were there back in the 10th century, and all sorts of complexities that I just, as a songwriter, couldn't go into in 3 verses and a chorus. So I decided to stand back a little bit and try and paint in broader brushstrokes and try not to get into too much detail that might land me in trouble. And I was really conscious that I didn't want to upset anybody and I didn't want to exclude anybody, but I wanted to focus in on the life of those pioneers and try not to glamorize it, but to try and portray it as it would have been. And so I've written a kind of a folk song that tells a little bit of the story of those early pioneers. Now I've got a really strong link to Scotland. Scotland's like is a place that I love and know well. My family, part of my family lived there. I've lived in the Outer Hebrides for a time on Lewis, and I'm really also very conscious of the strong link between Scotland and Canada, and England and Canada, and France and Canada. But thinking about the history of the terrible history of the land clearances and how so many people were disinherited of their land and forced to Canada. And so we have Nova Scotia, New Scotland, and other places, and similarly with the French and the English too. So, I'm really aware that not everyone that emigrated wanted to, they were forced to. So again, I was really struggling as a songwriter to think, how do I do justice to these stories that have affected so many people on such a profound level, again, without upsetting anybody or portraying history in a way that is not true. And so it's been a real process, this song, and it's been something I've really taken my time with. Hence, this is Wednesday. I've normally put a song out by Monday or Tuesday, but I wanted to take my time just to stand back and try and write with broader brushstrokes and try and take care with this song, because I really care about it and I want to do a good job for everybody who might listen to it. I don't want historians tearing it to bits and saying, well, that didn't happen, or that's not right, or why didn't you talk about this? Well, I only have 4 minutes to tell some stories. I also wanted to explore the lower registers of my vocal range as well. So the song is in 6/8. It's a little bit slower. It's going to be folky, and I'm thinking very much guitars, maybe a pad in the background, but with some fiddles, maybe even some bagpipes. I don't know. So we'll see, and certainly just a drum. I don't want a full drum kit or anything like that. This is going to be a very open song in terms of the space in the arrangement. It's not disco, it's not dance, it's folk. And so I want the story to be told through the vocals. So without further ado, I'm not quite sure what to call it, but at the moment it's just the working title's Pioneers. And I hope that you like it. Again, it's a very different song to those that have come before. And I'm very conscious too that I don't want to fall into just, well-worn lyrical phrases, because I think a lot of songwriters can fall very easily into just the same phrase construction, and I've been again determined not to do that too much here. So this is Pioneers. They came from the homelands of Scotland and France. They sailed the Atlantic to newfound lands. Exploring this territory, they learned to survive through harsh winter months and long darkened nights. They learned to grow crops in that brutal terrain, as many were farmers in the former domain. They hunted for food and made logs into shelter. The conditions were harsh, but they carried the fire. They were a long way from home, but determined to make a new way. Even though life was hard, they persevered, for they were pioneers. Though life was not easy in that northern wilderness, they worked with the earth and sea. They were pioneers in this land of the brave. With the sweat off their backs and the will to survive, with the grit and with courage, they struggled, pressed on. Those first years were hard and so many were sad, for reality was bleak in this far promised land. They made quilts for the evening when darkness drew in, and fires to keep warm. They told stories of kin. They furnished their homes with their crafts made by hand, and survived in that harsh, unforgiving land. Together they forged a new way for all those who came to the lands in the wild. They were free to start again. They were pioneers. Though life was not easy in that northern wilderness, they worked with the earth and sea. They were pioneers in this land of the brave. More followed on and the provinces grew, because of the groundwork and the toil of a few. They built chapels and schools as new families formed. Their children grew up in this place they were born, with customs and language and the accent of home. They made for themselves a more comfortable life. It's hard to imagine what life was like then, but for us with our comforts, we are thankful to them. They were pioneers. Life was not easy in that northern wilderness. They worked with the earth and sea. They were pioneers in this land of the brave. So there's the song, Pioneers. Now I'm sure there's a better title, and working with the lower registers, I'm really conscious that when I go from the pre-chorus into the chorus, it goes from a higher note into a lower note, but I wanted to set it up so that later in the song I can go higher, which is why I wanted to work in the lower register so that I could have that vocal range going higher. So I think as I record it, that will resolve itself, and I'll find ways around that. But I suppose I wanted to go lower because I felt that it's not that the song is depressing, it's just that the subject's really serious, and I just wanted to sort of give... I'm not quite sure what I was trying to do necessarily, but there was just a feeling that I needed to pitch it low, and then go a little bit higher later on, so that the sort of the progression from the difficult early days to the family started to grow and the society was built was kind of mirroring the song and the melody. So there you go, that's the song. I've got a few tweaks I wanted to do with it, I think. I'd love your comments, particularly as I know that some of my best friends live in Canada and watch this, and certainly family and friends in Scotland too are also watching along. So it's a song that I'm sure you will have an opinion on, and I'm hoping that you will be kind. Because again, this historical storytelling is not something I've done before. And I'm certainly no expert. I certainly don't have a history degree. I've got a theology degree and a music degree. But yeah, this is something that I feel I want to do because of my love of Canada and Scotland. And I stayed for a few months in British Columbia, in Kelowna, in the Rockies, and that was a very formative time for me. I loved Canada and really wanted to go back out and live there. But here I am in England. I missed the English out, of course. The English also, of course, went to Canada, but it didn't particularly rhyme. And I suppose, again, as a songwriter, sometimes you just got to go, it's not because I don't want to be accurate, it's just because lyrically it doesn't work. So I'm not trying to omit the English, but I felt that the Scots and the French accents are very much part of Canadian life, so and culture and history. So I didn't know this, but the Scots-Irish are the third largest population in Canada, and that's amazing. And the influences felt very strongly in those territories, in those provinces. So there you go. Okay, I've probably put my foot in it a million times in this video. I'm sorry about that, but this is my journey as a songwriter, and I would love your opinion. Sorry it's a bit long, but again, I just wanted to give a bit of context around the song, and hopefully I've done a half-decent job. I'm not convinced about all of it, but hopefully by Friday, by the time a song is released, I'll be much more happy with how things have gone. So thank you for watching. Thank you for watching this long, and have a good day. Bless you. Bye.